Hello and welcome to English in Advance, your personal guide to mastering the nuances of the English language. I'm Jessica, your host for today, and I'm so happy you've decided to join me today. This podcast is designed for dedicated learners like you. Learners who are ready to push past the intermediate plateau and truly step into the world of advanced C1 level English. We're not just going to learn lists of words today. Instead, we're going to do something much more powerful and much more fun. We're going to listen to stories. Through these stories, drawn from everyday life here in the United States, we will explore complex vocabulary, sophisticated sentence structures, and the subtle cultural codes embedded in the way native speakers communicate. This is active listening practice. I'll be telling you a story, and along the way, I'll pause to highlight interesting language, explain what it means in a simple way, and give you a chance to think about how you can use it yourself. So find a comfortable spot, maybe grab a cup of coffee, and let's get ready to train your ears and expand your mind. Let's begin with a story about my friend, Mark. Mark was, for the longest time, an accountant. He was good at it. Meticulous even, but his heart wasn't in it. Every morning he'd sit in his cubicle, staring at spreadsheets and feel a growing sense of, a sense of dissonance. Dissonance is a fascinating word. Dissonance. In music, it means a lack of harmony among musical notes, but in life it refers to a tension or a clash resulting from the combination of two disharmonious or unsuitable elements. For Mark, the dissonance was between the life he was living and the life he wanted to live. He craved creativity, spontaneity, things that his perfectly balanced ledgers just couldn't offer. Have you ever felt that kind of dissonance in your own life? A feeling that what you're doing and who you are not in perfect alignment. It's a powerful, often uncomfortable feeling. So one day, Mark decided he had to pivot. To pivot, P-I-V-O-T, is a verb that has become very popular in the business world, especially in startups. It means to change direction or strategy fundamentally. Imagine a basketball player with one foot planted on the ground. They can turn and face a new direction without lifting that foot. That's a pivot. Mark wasn't just looking for a new job. He was looking for a new career path entirely. He decided to leverage his savings to go back to school. To leverage, Leverage, means to use something to maximum advantage. You can leverage your skills, your contacts, or in Mark's case, his financial resources. He wasn't just spending his savings, he was using them strategically to achieve a bigger goal. He enrolled in a graphic design program. It was a bold move, and his family was apprehensive. 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 This word means anxious or fearful that something bad or unpleasant will happen. It's a bit more formal than just saying worried or scared. His parents were apprehensive about him leaving a stable, well-paying job for the uncertain world of freelance art. They'd say things like, "Are you sure you've thought this through, Mark?" Their tone was full of concern. The challenge for Mark was to stay true to his decision despite their apprehension. Think for a moment. When was the last time you had to leverage a personal quality, like your patience or your knowledge, to get through a difficult situation? The transition was not easy. Mark was in his mid-30s and his classmates were all a decade younger. He felt a bit of imposter syndrome, that feeling that you're not as competent as others perceive you to be. But he was determined. He buried himself in his work, learning about typography, color theory, and user interface design. He found that the meticulous nature he had developed as an accountant was surprisingly useful. Meticulous, M-E-T-I-C-U-L-O-U-S. It means showing great attention to detail, very careful and precise. An accountant has to be meticulous with numbers, and a graphic designer has to be meticulous with pixels and alignment. He found a strange synergy between his old life and his new one. Synergy, S-Y-N-E-R-G-Y, is the interaction or cooperation of two or more organizations, substances, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects. His analytical mind and his newfound creative skills created a powerful synergy, making his work both beautiful and highly functional. He started a small freelance business, and his first few clients were impressed by his professionalism and his pristine designs. The word pristine, P-R-I-S-T-I-N-E, means, in its original condition, unspoiled. We often use it to describe nature, like a pristine forest, but it can also be used for work that is clean, fresh, and perfectly executed. His portfolio was pristine. It showed his meticulous attention to detail and his unique artistic voice. Mark's story is a great example of how a career pivot, while daunting, can lead to a more fulfilling life. It's about recognizing dissonance and having the courage to make a change. Speaking of difficult processes, that reminds me of the time my sister Chloe bought her first house. The process in the United States is notoriously convoluted. Convoluted, C-O-N-V-O-L-U-T-E-D. It means extremely complex and difficult to follow. It's often used to describe stories, arguments, or bureaucratic processes. The sheer amount of paperwork was staggering. Chloe found a small bungalow she adored, but making it hers involved navigating a labyrinth of financial and legal steps. First, she had to get pre-approved for a mortgage, which involved the bank scrutinizing her entire financial history. To scrutinize, S-C-R-U-T-I-N-I-Z-E, means to examine or inspect closely and thoroughly. They looked at her income, her debt, her credit score, everything. It felt quite invasive. Once she made an offer and it was accepted, the real work began. The house went into what's called escrow. Escrow, E-S-C-R-O-W, is a legal arrangement in which a third party temporarily holds large sums of money or property until a particular condition has been met. So the money and the deed to the house are held by a neutral escrow company, not by the buyer or the seller, to ensure everything is fair. This period is filled with contingencies. A contingency, C-O-N-T-I-N-G-E-N-C-Y, is a future event or circumstance which is possible but cannot be predicted with certainty. In a real estate contract, common contingencies include a successful home inspection and the buyer's ability to secure a loan. If the inspection reveals a major problem, the buyer can back out of the deal. This part of the process is all about due diligence. That's a great C1 phrase, due diligence. It means the reasonable steps a person should take to satisfy a legal requirement, especially in buying or selling something. It's basically doing your homework. For Chloe, due diligence meant hiring an inspector to check every nook and cranny of that bungalow. The inspector's report came back with some issues. Nothing catastrophic, but the plumbing was old and the roof had a few more years left in it at best. This led to a new round of negotiations. Chloe had to liaise with her real estate agent to formulate a response. To liaise, L-I-A-I-S-E, means to establish communication for mutual understanding and cooperation. It It's a very common verb in professional settings. You might liaise with another department at work, for example. Chloe and her agent decided to make a counteroffer. They asked the seller to either rectify the issues or lower the price. To rectify, rectify, is a formal word for to correct or put something right. The seller was initially intransigent, intransigent, intransigent. What a word. It means unwilling or refusing to change one's views or to agree about something. He was a stubborn old man who felt his price was fair. For a few days, it seemed like the deal would fall through. Chloe was despondent. Despondent, D-E-S-P-O-N-D-E-N-T, means in low spirits from loss of hope or courage. After all that work, she was about to lose her dream house, but her agent was a savvy negotiator. Savvy, S-A-V-V-Y, means having or showing sharp powers of judgment. Astute. He knew when to push and when to wait. He presented the seller with quotes for the necessary repairs, making the financial reality of the situation undeniable. Eventually, the seller acquiesced. To acquiesce, A-C-Q-U-I-E-S-C-E, is to accept something reluctantly but without protest. He didn't want to, but he agreed to a price reduction. The relief was palpable. Palpable. P-A-L-P-A-B-L-E. It means a feeling so intense as to seem almost tangible or able to be touched. The stress in Chloe's voice was replaced by a palpable sense of joy. Can you think of a process in your life that was convoluted? Maybe applying for a visa or setting up a business. What made it so complex? This whole idea of navigating complex systems brings another story to mind, a much less pleasant one. A few years ago, I had a travel experience that I can only describe as a logistical nightmare. I was flying from Chicago to San Francisco for a very important conference. I had a connecting flight in Denver. My first flight was delayed due to mechanical issues, which is frustrating but understandable. When I finally landed in Denver, I had missed my connection to San Francisco by a mere 10 minutes. The airline automatically rebooked me, but the next available flight wasn't until the following morning. This was unacceptable. I would miss the opening keynote speech I was so excited about. I went to the customer service desk, where a long line of equally disgruntled passengers had formed. Disgruntled, D-I-S-G-R-U-N-T-L-E-D, means angry or dissatisfied. The atmosphere was thick with frustration. I tried to remain calm and explain my situation to the airline representative. I needed her to find a creative solution, perhaps on another airline. Her response was perfunctory. Perfunctory. P-E-R-F-U-N-C-T-O-R-Y. This adjective describes an action carried out with a minimum of effort or reflection. She just repeated the company policy, offered a meal voucher, and showed no real interest in my predicament. A predicament, P-R-E-D-I-C-A-M-E-N-T, is a difficult, unpleasant, or embarrassing situation. I was in a real predicament, stranded in an airport overnight. I knew that being obstinate wouldn't help. Obstinate, O-B-S-T-I-N-A-T-E, is another word for stubborn. Instead of arguing, I decided to be resourceful. I used my phone to research other options. I discovered there was one last flight to San Jose, which is about an hour's drive from San Francisco, on a different airline. The ticket price was, of course, exorbitant. Exorbitant, E-X-O-R-B-I-T-A-N-T, means unreasonably high when talking about a price. But I was desperate. I went back to a different customer service agent, a woman who seemed more empathetic. Empathetic, E-M-P-A-T-H-E-T-I-C, means showing an ability to understand and share the feelings of another. I calmly explained the situation again, and I presented my solution. I asked if the airline would be willing to endorse my ticket to the other carrier. To endorse a ticket, in this context, means to transfer it for use on another airline. At first, she said it was against policy, but I didn't give up. I decided to gently escalate the issue. To escalate, escalate, means to increase rapidly in intensity or seriousness. I politely asked if I could speak to a supervisor. I articulated my case clearly, explaining that the initial mechanical delay was the airline's responsibility, and thus their proposed solution was inadequate. To articulate, articulate means to express an idea or feeling fluently and coherently. The supervisor listened. He could see I wasn't just being difficult. I had a legitimate grievance. A grievance, grievance, is a real or imagined cause for complaint, especially unfair treatment. After a lengthy phone call with someone in another department, he finally agreed to cover the cost of the new ticket. It was a small victory, but it felt momentous. Momentous, M-O-M-E-N-T-O-U-S, means of great importance or significance. I had to run across the airport to a different terminal, but I made that flight to San Jose. I arrived late at night, exhausted but triumphant. That experience taught me the importance of perseverance and clear communication when you're faced with bureaucratic inertia. Inertia, I-N-E-R-T-I-A, is a tendency to do nothing or to remain unchanged. The airline's inertia was to just follow the rules, but by being persistent and articulate, I was able to achieve a better outcome. Think about a time you had to deal with perfunctory customer service. How did you handle the situation? Did you escalate the issue, or did you give up? These challenges, whether they're buying a house or dealing with an airline, often stem from systems created by people. And people, we are complex. That brings me to a more abstract but equally challenging topic: the ubiquitous nature of social media and its impact on our society. Ubiquitous, U-B-I-Q-U-I-T-O-U-S. It means present, appearing, or found everywhere. Smartphones are ubiquitous. The internet is ubiquitous. And social media platforms feel more ubiquitous than air sometimes. I was having a conversation with a friend, Sarah, who is a high school teacher. She was lamenting the effect it has on her students. To lament, L-A-M-E-N-T, is to express passionate grief or sorrow about something. She sees a real dichotomy in her students' lives. A dichotomy, D-I-C-H-O-T-O-M-Y, is a division or contrast between two things that are or are represented as being opposed or entirely different. On one hand, her students are more connected to global events and diverse cultures than any generation before them. On the other hand, they seem to be lonelier and more anxious. Sarah believes this is exacerbated by the curated perfection they see online. To exacerbate, E-X-C-E-R-B-A-T-E, means to make a problem, bad situation, or negative feeling worse. The constant stream of perfect vacations, perfect bodies, and perfect lives exacerbates the normal insecurities of being a teenager. We talked about the concept of the echo chamber. An echo chamber is an environment in which a person encounters only beliefs or opinions that coincide with their own. So their existing views are reinforced and alternative ideas are not considered. Social media algorithms are designed to create these. They show you content they think you'll like, which can inadvertently shield you from different perspectives. This can foster a very polarized society. Polarized, P-O-L-A-R-I-Z-E-D. It means to divide into two sharply contrasting groups or sets of opinions or beliefs. You're either with us or against us. There's little room for nuance. Nuance, N-U-A-N-C-E, means a subtle difference in or shade of meaning, expression, or sound. Real life is full of nuance, but a social media feed often presents a black and white world. Sarah said she tries to teach her students media literacy and critical thinking to help them navigate this digital landscape. She encourages them to question the veracity of what they see. Veracity, V-E-R-A-C-I-T-Y, means conformity to facts, accuracy. It's a formal word for truthfulness. She wants them to ask, is this post an accurate representation of reality, or is it a performance? It's a formidable task. Formidable. F-O-R-M-I-D-A-B-L-E. This word means inspiring fear or respect through being impressively large, powerful, intense, or capable. Trying to counteract the powerful pull of social media is a formidable challenge for any teacher or parent. Our conversation was quite sobering. Sobering, S-O-B-E-R-I-N-G. It means creating a more serious, sensible, or solemn mood. It wasn't a depressing chat, but it was a sobering one, making us think deeply about the unintended consequences of this technology that is so deeply woven into the fabric of our lives. In your own experience, have you noticed the effects of an echo chamber either online or in your community? How do you try to expose yourself to different points of view? Sometimes, to escape the complexities of the digital world, we turn to tangible projects. My neighbor David recently did just that. He decided to undertake a major renovation of his kitchen. He's an engineer, so he approached the project with a very systematic mindset. He wanted to streamline the whole process. To streamline, S-R-E-A-M-L-I-N-E, means to make an organization or system more efficient and effective by employing faster or simpler working methods. He created detailed plans, a strict budget, and a timeline. However, as is often the case with home renovations, unforeseen complications arose. Unforeseen, U-N-F-O-R-E-S-E-E-N. It simply means not anticipated or predicted. When they tore down one of the walls, they discovered some termite damage that was not apparent from the outside. This discovery completely derailed his meticulous schedule. The word meticulous comes up again. It's so useful. His pristine plans were suddenly obsolete. Obsolete, O-B-S-O-L-E-T-E, means no longer produced or used, out of date. His budget had to be radically revised to incorporate the cost of pest control and structural repairs. David had to create a contingency plan. A contingency plan is a plan designed to take a possible future event or circumstance into account. It's a plan B. Luckily, he had set aside some contingency funds, but this repair would consume almost all of it. Despite the setback, David was determined to create a bespoke kitchen. Bespoke, B-E-S-P-O-K-E, is an adjective, originally from British English but now used in the U.S., meaning made for a particular customer or user. It's like the word custom-made, but it sounds a bit more high-end and artisanal. He didn't want a generic kitchen from a big box store. He wanted custom cabinets, a unique backsplash, and clever storage solutions tailored to his needs. This required him to coordinate with multiple contractors, a plumber, an electrician, a carpenter, and a tile setter. The project became an exercise in diplomacy and project management. He had to ensure their work was sequential and didn't interfere with each other. Sequential, S-E-Q-U-E-N-T-I-A-L, means forming or following in a logical order or sequence. You can't install the new cabinets before the new electrical wiring is done, for example. There were moments of extreme frustration, like when the bespoke countertop was delivered with a crack in it and had to be sent back, causing a 3-week delay. But through it all, David remained pragmatic. Pragmatic? Pragmatic. A pragmatic person is someone who deals with things sensibly and realistically in a way that is based on practical rather than theoretical considerations. He knew that getting angry wouldn't fix the countertop. He just focused on the next practical step. In the end, the project took twice as long and cost 30% more than he had initially planned. But the result was stunning. The kitchen was not only beautiful, but also incredibly functional. It was a testament to his perseverance and his pragmatic approach to problem solving. It was the epitome of a bespoke space. The epitome, epitome, is a person or thing that is a perfect example of a particular quality or type. His kitchen was the epitome of good design. Have you ever worked on a project that had unforeseen complications? How did your initial plan have to change? Big projects, like renovating a kitchen, can feel like high-stakes events. And speaking of high-stakes events, let me tell you about a wedding I attended last year. It was my cousin's wedding, a very formal affair in a grand old hotel in Boston. From the moment we received the invitation, we knew this was going to be a very elaborate event. The invitation itself was made of thick, embossed cardstock. Embossed, E-M-B-O-S-S-E-D, means carved, molded, or stamped with a design so that it stands out in relief. The protocol for the evening was clearly stated: black tie. Protocol, Protocol, is the official procedure or system of rules governing affairs of state or diplomatic occasions. In a less formal sense, it just means the accepted code of conduct for a particular situation. The wedding ceremony itself was very poignant. Poignant, Poignant. This adjective describes something that evokes a keen sense of sadness or regret. But it's not just negative. A poignant memory can be beautiful and touching, but with a hint of sadness, perhaps for the passing of time. The vows my cousin and his new wife exchanged were so personal and heartfelt that many guests were discreetly wiping away tears. After the ceremony, we moved to the ballroom for the reception. The ambiance was incredible. Ambiance, A-M-B-I-A-N-C-E, is the character and atmosphere of a place. The lighting was soft. There was a live jazz band playing, and the tables were exquisitely decorated. I was seated at a table with people I'd never met before. Initially, it was a little awkward, but there was a wonderful woman sitting next to me, an old friend of the bride's family who was excellent at building rapport. Rapport, R-A-P-P-O-R-T, is a close and harmonious relationship in which the people or groups concerned understand each other's feelings or ideas and communicate well. She had a knack for asking open-ended questions and making everyone feel included. We soon moved beyond the perfunctory small talk and had a genuinely interesting conversation. During the dinner, the father of the bride gave a speech. It was the perfect blend of humor and sentimentality. He shared a few anecdotal stories from my cousin's childhood. Anecdotal, A-N-E-C-D-O-T-A-L, means based on personal accounts rather than facts or research. His anecdotes were charming and gave us a glimpse into my cousin's personality. The whole evening felt auspicious. Auspicious, A-U-S-P-I-C-I-O-U-S. It means conducive to success, favorable. It's a way of saying that something seems likely to bring good fortune. The joy in the room was so genuine, it felt like a truly auspicious start to their marriage. Of course, no large event is without its minor hitches. At one point, there was a brief power flicker, and the music stopped for a few seconds. but the staff handled it with such aplomb that it barely registered. Aplomb, A-P-L-O-M-B, means self-confidence or assurance, especially when in a demanding situation. They had the music back on in seconds, and the party continued seamlessly. It was a memorable night, a masterclass in how to host an elegant and meaningful celebration. It's interesting to think about social protocol. What is a common rule of etiquette in your culture that might be surprising to someone from the United States? So, from the very traditional, like a formal wedding, let's shift to the very modern. I'm fascinated by scientific and technological breakthroughs, and I recently read a story about a nascent technology that could revolutionize energy storage. Nascent. N-A-S-C-E-N-T. This adjective means just coming into existence and beginning to display signs of future potential. Think of a nascent industry or a nascent idea. This particular field is working on developing new types of batteries. We all know the limitations of current battery technology. They degrade over time, they have a limited capacity, and they often use rare or ethically problematic materials. A team of researchers at a university in California is pioneering a new approach. To pioneer, P-I-O-N-E-E-R, as a verb, means to develop or be the first to use or apply a new method, area of knowledge, or activity. They are working with organic materials, things that are abundant and environmentally benign. Benign, B-E-N-I-G-N, means gentle and kindly, not harmful in effect. In medicine, a benign tumor is one that is not cancerous. In an environmental context, it means something that doesn't harm the ecosystem. The initial results of their research represent a potential paradigm shift in the industry. A paradigm shift is a fundamental change in approach or underlying assumptions. The shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy is a paradigm shift. This new battery technology could be another. The proponents of this research believe it could be a game changer. A proponent, P-R-O-P-O-N-E-N-T, is a person who advocates a theory, proposal, or project. They argue that if this technology proves to be scalable, it could solve one of the biggest problems with renewable energy. Scalable, S-C-A-L-A-B-L-E, is a key term in both technology and business. It means capable of being easily expanded or upgraded on demand. An idea is scalable if it can be applied to a large population or market. The problem with solar and wind power is its intermittency. Intermittency, I-N-T-E-R-M-I-T-T-E-N-C-Y. It means the state of occurring at irregular intervals, not continuous or steady. The sun doesn't always shine, and the wind doesn't always blow. We need efficient ways to store the energy generated when they are active. These new organic batteries could be the answer. Of course, the technology is still in its infancy. There are many hurdles to overcome before it can be commercialized. The proponents are optimistic, but the detractors are quick to point out the potential pitfalls. A detractor, D-E-T-R-A-C-T-O-R, is a person who disparages someone or something, a critic. They argue that the efficiency of these organic batteries is still far below that of traditional lithium-ion batteries. The researchers concede this point. To concede, C-O-N-C-E-D-E, means to admit that something is true or valid after first denying or resisting it. However, they maintain that with further research and development, they can bridge that gap. It's a captivating field to watch. A story of innovation and the tenacious pursuit of a better future. Tenacious, T-E-N-A-C-I-O-U-S, means not readily relinquishing a position, principle, or course of action. Determined. It's another word for persistent. What nascent technology are you most excited about right now? Why do you think it has the potential to be a paradigm shift? Thinking about the future often makes me reflect on the past. History isn't just a collection of dates and events, it's a collection of human stories. My grandfather used to tell me stories about his experience during the Great Depression in the 1930s. His recollections weren't from a history book. They were anecdotal, personal, and deeply impactful. He talked about the pervasive sense of uncertainty. Pervasive, Pervasive. This adjective, especially of an unwelcome influence or physical effect, means spreading widely throughout an area or a group of people. There was a pervasive fear about where the next meal would come from. His family, like many others, faced incredible hardship. He told me a story about how his father lost his job at a factory. The repercussions for the family were immediate and severe. Repercussion, repercussion, is an unintended consequence occurring sometime after an event or action, especially an unwelcome one. They had to leave their home and move in with relatives. My grandfather, who was just a young boy, had to leave school to work odd jobs to help support the family. He said that this experience instilled in him a powerful sense of frugality. Frugality, Frugality. It's a quality of being economical with money or food, thriftiness. He was never wasteful for the rest of his life. He would meticulously save bits of string and reuse glass jars. He also described the surprising resilience of the community. Resilience, Resilience, is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness. People looked out for one another. Neighbors shared what little food they had. There was a sense of solidarity born from shared struggle. He said that despite the privation, there were moments of joy. Privation, Privation, is a state in which things that are essential for human well-being, such as food and warmth, are scarce or lacking. He remembered community gatherings in the local church basement with music and dancing that offered a temporary reprieve from their worries. A reprieve, Reprieve, is a cancellation or postponement of a punishment, but it can also mean a temporary escape from an unwelcome demand or situation. These stories left an indelible mark on me. Indelible, Indelible. It means not able to be forgotten or removed. An indelible memory is one that stays with you forever. My grandfather's stories weren't just about hardship. They were about dignity, community, and the resilience of the human spirit. They are a significant part of my family's legacy. A legacy, Legacy, is something left or handed down from an ancestor or predecessor or from the past. His legacy wasn't money or property. It was these stories and the values they contained. They provide a valuable perspective on the comforts and securities we often take for granted today. Think about your own family. Is there a momentous event from a past generation that has left a legacy on your family today? What is that story? From the tangible struggles of history, let's venture into the more subjective world of art. I recently visited a modern art museum with a friend who is quite skeptical of the genre. We stood in front of a large canvas that was painted entirely in different shades of blue. My friend was flummoxed. Flummoxed, Flummoxed. It's an informal word meaning bewildered or perplexed. I don't get it, he said. It's just blue. This is a common critique of abstract or avant-garde art. Avant-garde, Avantgarde. This term is from French and refers to new and unusual or experimental ideas, especially in the arts, or the people introducing them. My friend's critique was that the painting lacked technical skill and discernible meaning. Discernible, D-I-S-C-E-R-N-I-B-L-E, means able to be perceived or recognized. I, on the other hand, found the painting to be quite evocative. Evocative, E-V-O-C-A-T-I-V-E. It means bringing strong images, memories, or feelings to mind. The different shades of blue, for me, evoked feelings of both tranquility and melancholy. The sheer scale of the painting was also immersive. Immersive, I-M-M-E-R-S-I-V-E, means seeming to surround the audience or user so that they feel fully involved in the experience. Standing in front of it, I felt like I was being enveloped by the color. Our friendly debate highlighted the inherent subjectivity of art. Subjective, S-U-B-J-E-C-T-I-V-E. It means based on or influenced by personal feelings, tastes, or opinions. The opposite is objective, which is based on facts. There is no objectively correct way to interpret that blue painting. Its value lies in the experience it creates for the individual viewer. An art critic might write a critique of the work, analyzing its composition, its place in art history, and its conceptual underpinnings. The underpinnings of something are the solid basis on which it is grounded. But for the average person, the reaction is much more visceral. Visceral, V-I-S-C-E-R-A-L. It relates to deep inward feelings rather than to the intellect. A visceral reaction is a gut feeling. My friend had a visceral reaction of confusion, while I had one of wonder. He found the artwork to be pretentious, P-R-E-T-E-N-T-I-O-U-S. This is a negative word for attempting to impress by affecting greater importance, talent, or culture than is actually possessed. I saw it as profound. Profound, P-R-O-F-O-U-N-D, means very great or intense, or having deep insight or knowledge. We didn't resolve our disagreement, and we didn't need to. The conversation itself was the valuable part. It forced us both to articulate our perspectives and to consider a viewpoint different from our own. It's a microcosm of many debates in society. A microcosm, M-I-C-R-O-C-O-S-M, is a miniature representation of a larger world or system. Our small debate about a painting reflected larger debates about what we value as a culture. What is a piece of art, be it a song, a film, or a painting, that you found profound, but that a friend of yours just didn't understand? What did you see in it that they didn't? These differences in perspective can sometimes lead to very difficult situations, especially when matters of principle are involved. This reminds me of a story about a woman named Elena, a project manager at a software company. She was overseeing the launch of a new app. Her team had been working diligently for months, and they were on the verge of meeting their deadline. Then, a few weeks before the scheduled launch, a junior quality assurance tester found a significant security vulnerability. A vulnerability, vulnerability, is the quality of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed. This was a serious flaw that could compromise user data. The tester immediately reported it to Elena. Elena was now faced with a major conundrum. A conundrum, C-O-N-U-N-D-R-U-M, is a confusing and difficult problem or question. On one hand, her boss and the company's stakeholders were expecting the app to launch on time. Delaying it would have significant financial ramifications. Ramification, R-A-M-I-F-I-C-A-T-I-O-N. This is a complex or unwelcome consequence of an action or event. It's a more formal synonym for consequence. On the other hand, launching the app with a known security flaw would be a gross dereliction of her duty to protect the users. Dereliction of duty is a strong phrase meaning the shameful failure to fulfill one's obligations. Elena's boss was unequivocal in his position. Unequivocal, unequivocal, means leaving no doubt. Unambiguous. He told her to mitigate the risk and proceed with the launch. To mitigate, mitigate, means to make something bad less severe, serious, or painful. Her boss was essentially telling her to downplay the problem and fix it quietly after the launch. He was prioritizing profit over user security. This put Elena in an untenable position. Untenable. Untenable describes a position or view that is not able to be maintained or defended against attack or objection. She knew that what her boss was asking her to do was unethical. It went against her integrity. Integrity, integrity, is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. Elena spent a sleepless night weighing her options. She could acquiesce to her boss's demand, protecting her career in the short term, but compromising her principles. Or she could be principled and refuse, likely facing her boss's wrath and potentially jeopardizing her job. To be principled, principled, means to consistently act in accordance with a particular belief. In the end, Elena decided she could not, in good conscience, allow the app to launch. The next morning, she wrote a comprehensive report detailing the vulnerability and its potential impact. She formally recommended a delay to the launch until the issue was fully rectified. She went over her boss's head and sent the report to the chief technology officer. It was a bold and risky move, but it was a principled one. The CTO, upon reviewing the evidence, sided with Elena. The launch was delayed, the flaw was fixed, and user data was protected. Elena's relationship with her immediate boss was irrevocably damaged. Irrevocably, irrevocably, means in a way that cannot be changed, reversed, or recovered. But she had maintained her integrity, and she earned the respect of her peers and the company's leadership. It was a powerful lesson in the courage it takes to do the right thing, especially when it's the hard thing. Have you ever faced a moral conundrum at work or in your personal life where the easy path conflicted with the right path? What did you choose to do? Stories like Elena's about navigating complex environments remind me of what it's like to adapt to a new place. My friend Carlos moved from a small town in Colombia to New York City a few years ago, and his experience was a profound lesson in cultural adaptation. The most immediate challenge for him was the sheer pace of life. He found the juxtaposition of extreme wealth and poverty on the same city block to be jarring. Juxtaposition, juxtaposition, is the fact of two things being seen or placed close together with contrasting effect. A gleaming skyscraper next to a crumbling old tenement building is a classic New York juxtaposition. Initially, he felt a sense of alienation. Alienation, alienation, is the state or experience of being isolated from a group or an activity to which one should belong or in which one should be involved. He was surrounded by millions of people, yet he felt utterly alone. The vernacular of the city was also difficult to grasp. Vernacular, vernacular, is the language or dialect spoken by the ordinary people in a particular country or region. Every city has its own slang and its own rhythm of speech, and New York's is particularly fast and direct. Carlos decided that to truly assimilate, he needed to immerse himself in the local culture. To assimilate, assimilate, means to take in and understand fully, referring to information, ideas, or culture. He made a conscious effort to explore different neighborhoods, from the historic streets of Greenwich Village to the vibrant, eclectic communities in Queens. Eclectic, eclectic, means deriving ideas, style, or taste from a broad and diverse range of sources. He started taking the class at a local community center, which was a fantastic way to meet people from disparate backgrounds. Disparate, disparate, means essentially different in kind, not allowing comparison. His classmates were from all over the world, each with their own story of coming to New York. He slowly began to feel less like an outsider and more like a participant in the city's chaotic, beautiful energy. He learned to appreciate the quintessential New York experiences, grabbing the slice of pizza at a corner shop, navigating the subway system during rush hour, and finding moments of peace in Central Park. Quintessential, quintessential, means representing the most perfect or typical example of a quality or class. A yellow cab is a quintessential symbol of New York. Over time, Carlos carved out his own niche in the city. A niche, N-I-C-H-E, is a comfortable or suitable position in life or employment. He found a job that he loved, built a strong circle of friends, and came to embrace the very things that once intimidated him. His story is not about losing his Colombian identity, but about adding a new, vibrant layer to it. He learned that to thrive in a new place, you don't have to erase who you were. You just have to be open to expanding who you can become. Carlos's story of finding his niche in a new world is a beautiful reminder of human adaptability. But sometimes, the challenge isn't adapting to a new place, but adapting to new ideas and technologies that are fundamentally changing the world we all inhabit. This brings me to a conversation I had recently with my friend, an artist named Leo, about the burgeoning world of artificial intelligence. Burgeoning, B-U-R-G-E-O-N-I-N-G. It means beginning to grow or increase rapidly, flourishing. The field of AI is definitely burgeoning. Leo is a digital illustrator, and for years his unique style has been his livelihood. But recently, he's been feeling a sense of trepidation. Trepidation, T-R-E-P-I-D-A-T-I-O-N. It's a feeling of fear or agitation about something that may happen. His trepidation stems from the new AI image generators. These algorithms can create stunning, complex images from a simple text prompt. He showed me some examples, and they were, frankly, indistinguishable from the work of a skilled human artist. Indistinguishable. Indistinguishable, means not able to be identified as different or distinct. This technology has presented him with a profound ethical and professional dilemma. The ethical implications are vast. For example, these AI models are trained on billions of images scraped from the internet, often without the consent of the original artists. Leo feels that the very essence of his style, which he spent decades developing, has been assimilated by a machine that can now replicate it in seconds. We see that word again, assimilate, but in a very different context. Leo fears his skills might soon become redundant. Redundant, R-E-D-U-N-D-A-N-T. In a job context, this means no longer needed or useful. It's a cold, impersonal word for losing your job to automation or technology. He worries about a future where human creativity is devalued. However, Leo is not a Luddite. A Luddite, L-U-D-D-I-T-E, is a person opposed to new technology. The term comes from a group of 19th century English workers who destroyed weaving machinery as a form of protest. Leo is not against technology itself. In fact, his work is entirely digital. Instead of rejecting AI, he's trying to find a way to coexist with it. He started to incorporate AI into his workflow as a tool for brainstorming and generating initial concepts, which he then refines with his own human touch. He's trying to find a new synergy, another one of our previous vocabulary words. He believes that while AI can mimic human creativity, it lacks genuine sentient experience. Sentient, S-E-N-T-I-E-N-T, means able to perceive or feel things. An AI can process data about emotions, but it can't feel joy or sorrow. Leo believes this is where human artists will always have the edge. Our art is a reflection of our lived, sentient experience. The conversation was a fascinating look at the anxieties and opportunities that come with disruptive innovation. Disruptive, D-I-S-R-U-P-T-I-V-E, in a technology context, refers to an innovation that significantly alters the way consumers, industries, or businesses operate. AI is the quintessential disruptive technology of our time. Think about your own profession or hobbies. Can you foresee how burgeoning AI technology might change it in the next decade? Yes. Finding ways to coexist with new forces, whether technological or social, is often about starting small, at the community level. This reminds me of a wonderful grassroots initiative that started in my friend Maria's neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. Grassroots, G-R-A-S-S-R-O-O-T-S. As an adjective, it means relating to or involving the common people, especially as contrasted with the elite. A grassroots movement is one that starts from the bottom up. Maria lives in a dense urban area with very little green space. She and a few of her neighbors had an idea. What if they could convert a neglected, vacant lot at the end of their street into a communal garden? Communal, C-O-M-M-U-N-A-L, means shared by all members of a community for common use. The first step was to mobilize the community. To mobilize, M-O-B-I-L-I-Z-E, means to organize and encourage a group of people to take collective action in pursuit of a particular objective. Maria and her friends went door to door, talking to their neighbors, explaining their vision, and gauging interest. The response was overwhelmingly positive. It seemed everyone was yearning for a little piece of nature and a stronger sense of community. Of course, having a good idea is one thing, executing it is another. They immediately ran into a wall of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy, B-U-R-E-A-U-C-R-A-C-Y, is a system of government or administration marked by officialism, red tape, and proliferation of rules. They had to figure out who owned the lot and then navigate the labyrinthine city permit process. Labyrinthine, L-A-B-Y-R-I-N-T-H-I-N-E, means irregular and twisting, intricate and confusing. It's a great synonym for convoluted. But the small group was persistent. They formed an official neighborhood association to give their request more legitimacy. Legitimacy, L-E-G-I-T-I-M-A-C-Y, is the quality of being reasonable and acceptable. They wrote proposals, attended city council meetings, and made their case with passion and clarity. Finally, after months of effort, the city granted them a temporary lease on the land. The transformation of the lot was a testament to collective effort. People donated tools. A local nursery donated seeds. And on weekends, the whole community would come out to work. They built raised garden beds, set up a composting system, and even installed a small bench. The goal was to make the garden not just productive, but also sustainable. Sustainable, S-U-S-T-A-I-N-A-B-L-E, in this context, means able to be maintained at a certain rate or level, often with a view to conserving ecological balance. They used organic farming methods and collected rainwater for irrigation. The garden became more than just a place to grow vegetables. It became the de facto community center. De facto, D-E-F-A-C-T-O, is a Latin phrase that means in fact or in effect. It describes something that exists in practice, even if not officially agreed upon or legally established. It was the de facto heart of the neighborhood, a place where people connected, shared stories, and watched something beautiful grow from their shared effort. It was a powerful example of how a small grassroots idea can blossom into something that enriches an entire community. Has there ever been a grassroots initiative in your community that you admired or participated in? What was its goal? This idea of community and civic participation reminds me of one of the most unique and serious responsibilities a U.S. citizen can have: serving on a jury. My colleague Ben was recently called for jury duty, and his experience was eye-opening. For many Americans, receiving a jury summons in the mail is met with a groan. It's often seen as an inconvenience, an interruption to work and daily life. But Ben approached it as his civic duty. Civic duty is the concept that citizens have a responsibility to their community. When he arrived at the courthouse, he was part of a large pool of potential jurors. The selection process, known as voir dire, was fascinating. Both the prosecution and defense lawyers get to ask the potential jurors questions to detect any potential bias. Ben was selected to sit on the jury for a complex financial fraud case. He and the 11 other jurors were tasked with a formidable responsibility to listen to all the testimony, examine the evidence, and deliver a unanimous verdict. Unanimous. U-N-A-N-I-M-O-U-S. It means fully in agreement. If even one juror disagrees, it's not a unanimous verdict, and it results in a hung jury. The trial lasted for 2 weeks. Ben said it was like having a temporary, intense new job. He had to listen intently to expert witnesses, scrutinize financial documents, and try to piece together a coherent narrative from conflicting accounts. The prosecution presented a compelling case, but the defense worked hard to introduce reasonable doubt. During the trial, the jurors are forbidden from discussing the case with anyone, even each other. All their conversations must happen during the official deliberation. When the trial concluded, the 12 of them were led into a small room to deliberate. To deliberate, D-E-L-I-B-E-R-A-T-E, means to engage in long and careful consideration. This, Ben said, was the most challenging part. The jurors were a microcosm of society, different ages, professions, and backgrounds. Their initial vote was far from unanimous. What followed was hours of intense, sometimes contentious discussion. Contentious, C-O-N-T-E-N-T-I-O-U-S, means causing or likely to cause an argument. Controversial. They had to dissect every piece of testimony, every exhibit. They debated whether the defendant's actions were intentionally fraudulent or just a series of poor but not criminal business decisions. They had to decide what was plausible. Plausible, P-L-A-U-S-I-B-L-E, means seeming reasonable or probable. Ben said their foreman, the juror chosen to lead the discussion, was excellent at mediating the debates and keeping them focused. Eventually, by carefully re-examining the evidence, they were able to reconcile their different interpretations. To reconcile, R-E-C-O-N-C-I-L-E, is to restore friendly relations between, or in this context, to make one view or belief compatible with another. They reached a unanimous verdict of not guilty. They were not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that a crime had been committed. The defendant was exonerated. To exonerate, exonerate, is to officially absolve from blame, to clear of guilt. Ben left the experience with a profound respect for the legal system. It was messy, human, and imperfect, but it was a genuine attempt to find justice. It made him realize that the health of a democracy depends on the willingness of ordinary people to participate in these crucial civic duties. The level of focus Ben needed for jury duty is something I see in people who are passionate about their hobbies. Sometimes a hobby can become a discipline, a deep dive into an esoteric world. Esoteric, esoteric. It means intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with a specialized knowledge or interest. My friend Emily has such a hobby. She is an amateur ornithologist or a bird watcher, but calling her a bird watcher feels like an understatement. She is a true connoisseur of avian life. A connoisseur, connoisseur, is an expert judge in matters of taste. While some people are connoisseurs of wine or art, Emily is a connoisseur of birds. Her dedication is astonishing. She thinks nothing of waking up before dawn and driving for hours to a specific marsh or forest just for the chance to spot a rare migratory bird. Her methodology is meticulous. Methodology, methodology, is a system of methods used in a particular area of study or activity. She keeps detailed notebooks, sketching the birds she sees and recording their calls. She has an encyclopedic knowledge of their habits, migration patterns, and habitats. To an outsider, her hobby might seem, well, a bit eccentric. Eccentric, eccentric, means unconventional and slightly strange. But when you talk to her about it, her passion is infectious. She describes the thrill of finally spotting a bird she has only ever seen in books as a deeply gratifying experience. Gratifying, gratifying, means giving pleasure or satisfaction. Recently, she achieved a long-held goal, to spot a lifer. In the birding world, a lifer is the very first time a birder sees a particular species of bird. The bird she was looking for was the cedar waxwing, known for its sleek crest and silky, beautiful plumage. Plumage, plumage, is a bird's feathers, collectively. Despite being relatively common, this particular bird had always been elusive for her. Elusive, elusive, means difficult to find, catch, or achieve. She'd been searching for one for years. One crisp autumn morning, she was walking in an arboretum when she heard a distinctive, high-pitched call. An arboretum, arboretum, is a botanical garden devoted to trees. She looked up, and there, in a tree with bright red berries, was a whole flock of cedar waxwings. She said the moment was sublime. Sublime, sublime. This adjective means of such excellence, grandeur, or beauty as to inspire great admiration or awe. It was a quiet, personal triumph. Her hobby isn't about competition or achievement in the traditional sense. It's about patience, observation, and a deep connection with the natural world. It's a form of mindfulness, a way to be fully present in the moment. It's a reminder that passion can be found in the most unexpected places and that esoteric knowledge can unlock a whole new way of seeing the world. Do you have a niche hobby or interest that might seem esoteric to others? What about it do you find so gratifying? Not all ventures end as sublimely as Emily's bird-watching expedition. Sometimes our passions and ambitions can lead to failure, and that brings me to a cautionary tale from my cousin, Kevin. A cautionary tale is a story told to warn of a danger. Kevin has always been an entrepreneur at heart. A few years ago, he and a business partner decided to invest their life savings into what they thought was a brilliant idea, a high-tech enabled food truck. The concept was ambitious. Customers could order and pay via an app, and the truck's kitchen would use a highly efficient, streamlined system to prepare gourmet food in minutes. They drafted a detailed business plan and created a prospectus to attract investors. A prospectus, prospectus, is a printed document that advertises or describes a school, commercial enterprise, or similar organization in order to attract or inform clients, members, or prospective buyers. They poured everything they had into the venture. The initial launch was promising. There was a lot of buzz, and the novelty of their tech-forward approach attracted customers. But they soon discovered that the food truck industry is incredibly volatile. Volatile, volatile, means liable to change rapidly and unpredictably, especially for the worse. Their sales were heavily dependent on weather, location, and local events. A single rainy week could be devastating for their revenue. Furthermore, their sophisticated technology, which was supposed to be their biggest asset, became their biggest liability. The custom software was buggy, and the complex kitchen equipment was prone to breaking down. They were spending a fortune on repairs and maintenance. They had severely underestimated their operational costs. They tried to secure more funding, but potential investors were wary of their high burn rate, the rate at which a company is spending its capital. Within a year, they were insolvent. Insolvent, insolvent, means unable to pay debts owed. They had to sell the truck and all its equipment for a fraction of what they paid. Kevin lost all of his savings. It was a devastating blow. He had to recoup his losses by taking on freelance work, and it took him years to recover financially. To recoup, R-E-C-O-U-P, means to regain money or something lost. But Kevin is resilient. He doesn't view the experience as a complete failure. He sees it as a very expensive but very valuable education. He learned that a novel idea isn't enough. Execution and a pragmatic understanding of the market are paramount. Paramount, P-A-R-A-M-O-U-N-T, means more important than anything else. Supreme. He says the experience, while painful, taught him humility and made him a much savvier businessman. It was a classic cautionary tale about the risks of letting ambition outpace practical planning. Have you ever embarked on a project that failed? What paramount lesson did you learn from the experience? Overcoming a failure, whether it's financial or personal, often requires immense mental and physical fortitude. That makes me think of my friend, Anna, and her journey to run her first marathon. Anna was never a natural athlete. She decided to train for a marathon on a whim as a personal challenge. The training regimen was grueling. A regimen, R-E-G-I-M-E-N, is a prescribed course of medical treatment, diet, or exercise for the promotion or restoration of health. A grueling, G-R-U-E-L-I-N-G, regimen is one that is extremely tiring and demanding. It involved waking up before dawn for long runs, meticulously planning her nutrition, and sacrificing much of her social life. About halfway through her training, she hit a plateau. A plateau, P-L-A-T-E-A-U, in this sense, is a state of little or no change following a period of activity or progress. Her running times weren't improving, and she felt constantly exhausted and demoralized. Demoralized, D-E-M-O-R-A-L-I-Z-E-D, means having lost confidence or hope. She was on the verge of quitting. She realized that her approach was purely physical. She wasn't paying attention to the mental aspect of the challenge. So she decided to take a more holistic approach. Holistic, holistic is an adjective for characterized by the belief that the parts of something are interconnected and can be explained only by reference to the whole. A holistic approach to health considers the mind as well as the body. She started practicing meditation and visualization techniques. Before each run, she would visualize herself crossing the finish line, feeling strong and exhilarated. She also learned to stop focusing solely on her performance metrics and instead focused on the simple joy of running and being outdoors. This mental shift was transformative. Transformative, transformative, means causing a marked change in someone or something. She broke through her plateau and found a renewed sense of purpose. On the day of the marathon, the atmosphere was electric, but the race itself was an ordeal. An ordeal, O-R-D-E-A-L, is a very unpleasant and prolonged experience. Around mile 20, she hit the infamous wall, a point where a runner's glycogen stores are depleted, leading to sudden fatigue and loss of energy. Every muscle in her body was screaming at her to stop. But she drew on her mental training. She remembered her visualizations. She focused on one step at a time. The last few miles were a blur of pain and determination, but she did it. She crossed the finish line, completely spent but euphoric. Euphoric, E-U-P-H-O-R-I-C, means characterized by or feeling intense excitement and happiness. The experience was a powerful testament to her resilience. That word again, resilience, it's such a key part of the human experience. Anna's journey wasn't just about running 26.2 miles. It was about discovering the profound connection between the mind and body and proving to herself that she was capable of far more than she ever thought possible. Anna's appreciation for being outdoors brings to mind the importance of preserving the natural spaces that allow for such experiences. Last summer, my family and I took a trip to Zion National Park in Utah. The beauty of the place is almost impossible to describe. Towering sandstone cliffs, a pristine river carving through the canyon. It's a place that inspires awe. Pristine, another word we've heard, meaning clean and fresh as if new, unspoiled. The park is a sanctuary for an incredible amount of biodiversity. Biodiversity, B-I-O-D-I-V-E-R-S-I-T-Y, is the variety of plant and animal life in the world or in a particular habitat. However, we also saw the immense challenges the park faces. The sheer number of visitors was staggering. We were there in the peak season, and the trails were crowded. We could see the tangible impact of human encroachment on this fragile ecosystem. Encroachment, E-N-C-R-O-A-C-H-M-E-N-T, is intrusion on a person's territory, rights, or, in this case, a natural habitat. We learned from a park ranger that managing this delicate balance is the core mission of the National Park Service. They see themselves as stewards of the land. A steward, T-E-W-A-R-D, is a person whose job is to manage or look after the land or property of another person. In this case, they are stewards of land that belongs to all Americans. The ranger we spoke to was eloquent and passionate about conservation. Conservation, C-O-N-S-E-R-V-A-T-I-O-N, is the protection of animals, plants, and natural resources. He explained the various initiatives the park was undertaking to mitigate the impact of tourism, such as the mandatory shuttle bus system to reduce traffic congestion and emissions within the canyon. He talked about the existential threat of climate change, which is causing more extreme weather events and threatening native species. Existential, E-X-I-S-T-E-N-T-I-A-L, means relating to existence. An existential threat is a threat to something's very existence. His talk was not alarmist, but it was candid. Candid, C-A-N-D-I-D, means truthful and straightforward. Frank. He emphasized that the future of these parks depends on a collective sense of responsibility. It's not just the job of the rangers. It's up to every visitor to practice leave no trace principles and to advocate for policies that protect these wild places. The trip was a dichotomy of feelings, immense joy at the beauty we witnessed and a somber understanding of its fragility. It was a powerful reminder that these pristine landscapes are not guaranteed to last forever. They are a precious inheritance that we have a duty to preserve for subsequent generations. Subsequent, S-U-B-S-E-Q-U-E-N-T, means coming after something in time, following. What is a natural place that you feel a strong connection to? What makes it special to you? Difficult conversations, like the one about environmental threats, are not just confined to public policy. They happen within our own families. A while ago, my friends Sarah and Tom had to navigate a very contentious family issue. The matriarch of their family, their grandmother, had passed away, and it fell to the siblings to decide what to do with her old house. The house was not particularly valuable in terms of money, but it was a repository of family memories. A repository, R-E-P-O-S-I-T-O-R-Y, is a place where things are stored. This house was a repository of their childhoods. Sarah wanted to keep the house in the family, perhaps using it as a shared vacation home. Tom, who lived farther away and was in a more precarious financial situation, felt they should sell it and split the proceeds. Precarious, P-R-E-C-A-R-I-O-U-S, means not securely held or in position, dangerously likely to fall or collapse. A precarious financial situation is one that is unstable. Their disagreement quickly escalated. It wasn't really about the house itself. The house was a proxy for other, deeper issues. A proxy, P-R-O-X-Y, is something that represents something else. The debate became a proxy for their different life choices and values. The family reached an impasse. An impasse, I-M-P-A-S-S-E, is a situation in which no progress is possible, especially because of disagreement, a deadlock. Conversations became strained, and it was causing a real rift in the family. Realizing they couldn't solve it on their own, they decided to bring in a mediator. A mediator, M-E-D-I-A-T-O-R, is a person who attempts to make people involved in a conflict come to an agreement, a neutral third party. The mediator helped them to depersonalize the conflict. She established ground rules for their discussions, ensuring that everyone had a chance to speak without interruption. Her role was to facilitate communication, not to impose a solution. She helped them to articulate their underlying needs and fears. Tom wasn't being greedy. He was worried about his family's financial security. Sarah wasn't being impractical. She was afraid of losing a tangible connection to their shared past. Through this mediated process, they were finally able to find some common ground. They came up with a compromise. They would rent out the house for 2 years. This would provide Tom with some income, and it would give Sarah and the family time to decide if they could realistically manage it as a shared property in the long term. It set a precedent for how they would handle future disagreements. A precedent, P-R-E-C-E-D-E-N-T, is an earlier event or action that is regarded as an example or guide to be considered in subsequent similar circumstances. The process was emotionally taxing, but it ultimately saved their relationship. They learned that even the most contentious issues can be resolved when people are willing to listen and search for a mutually agreeable solution. So many of the challenges we've discussed today, from family disagreements to adapting to new technology, stem from the relentless pace and complexity of modern life. It's a world of constant connection, notifications, and demands on our attention. This has led many people to seek out the opposite, the experience of unplugging. My friend David, the same one who renovated his kitchen, recently went on a digital detox retreat. He'd been feeling completely burned out. He described a feeling of being tethered to his devices. Tethered, T-E-T-H-E-R-E-D, means tied with a rope or chain so as to restrict movement. He felt tethered to his email and social media feeds. The retreat was held at a remote cabin in the mountains. The cardinal rule was no electronics, no phones, no laptops, no internet. Cardinal, C-A-R-D-I-N-A-L, here means of the greatest importance, fundamental. A cardinal rule is the most important rule. For the first 24 hours, David said he experienced a form of withdrawal. Withdrawal, W-I-T-H-D-R-A-W-A-L, is the action of ceasing to take an addictive drug, but it's now commonly used to describe the effects of stopping any compulsive behavior. He felt agitated, bored, and had a constant phantom urge to check his pocket for his phone. He described the initial silence not as peaceful, but as deafening. But then, something shifted. By the second day, he started to notice the world around him with a new clarity. He noticed the intricate patterns of frost on the window, the taste of his morning coffee, the sound of the wind in the trees. The retreat was not about structured activities. It was about providing a space for introspection. Introspection, I-N-T-R-O-S-P-E-C-T-I-O-N, is the examination or observation of one's own mental and emotional processes. Without the constant distraction of the digital world, his mind began to quiet down. He spent his days reading books, hiking, and simply thinking. He said he had more profound thoughts and ideas in those few days than he'd had in the entire previous year. He realized that his constant connection to the ephemeral stream of online information was preventing him from engaging in deep thought. Ephemeral, E-P-H-E-M-E-R-A-L, means lasting for a very short time. A social media post is ephemeral. A good book is not. When he returned, he didn't forsake technology entirely. That would be impractical. But he did establish new protocols for himself. He now has designated times of the day when he turns off his phone completely. He has rediscovered the joy of monotasking, doing one thing at a time. The experience was a powerful reminder that in our quest to be more connected, we sometimes lose connection with the most important thing, ourselves. Have you ever tried a digital detox, even for a short period? What was the experience like for you? This act of stepping back to gain clarity is crucial, not just for our personal well-being, but for our professional lives as well. It reminds me of one final story about my friend Maya, who had a crippling fear of public speaking. For years, she had actively avoided any situation that would require her to speak in front of a group. But she was recently promoted to a position that required her to give regular presentations to clients. It was a formidable, unavoidable challenge. Her first major presentation was looming, and she was petrified. Petrified, P-E-T-R-I-F-I-E-D, is an informal way to say terrified. She decided she had to confront her fear head on. She joined a local Toastmasters club, a group dedicated to helping members improve their public speaking skills. The first time she had to stand up and speak for just 1 minute, her voice quavered and her hands shook. Quavered, Quavered, means to shake or tremble in speaking, typically through nervousness or emotion. But the group was incredibly supportive. They provided constructive, not destructive, feedback. Little by little, her confidence grew. She learned the importance of preparation, but also the skill of speaking extemporaneously. Extemporaneously, extemporaneously, means spoken or done without preparation. The group had exercises where you'd be given a topic and have to speak about it for a minute, which taught her to think on her feet. When the day of her big client presentation arrived, she was still nervous, but it was a manageable nervousness, not a debilitating fear. She had practiced her presentation so many times that the material was second nature. She walked to the podium and took a deep breath, remembering a key piece of advice from her club: connect with your audience. She made eye contact, smiled, and began. She focused on being authentic rather than perfect. She articulated her points with clarity and conviction. There was a moment when she lost her train of thought, but she managed to maintain her composure. Composure, Composure, is the state or feeling of being calm and in control of oneself. She simply paused, took a sip of water, and found her place again. She didn't just read her slides, she told a story that made the data meaningful. By the end, she could tell her message had resonated with the audience. To resonate, resonate, means to evoke or suggest images, memories, and emotions. A message resonates when the audience feels a connection to it. After the presentation, several clients came up to congratulate her. It was a huge personal victory. Maya's journey shows that our fears, even those that seem insurmountable, can be overcome with preparation, practice, and the courage to be vulnerable. It's about turning a formidable obstacle into a gratifying achievement. And as we come to the end of this journey today, I hope you feel a sense of gratifying achievement yourself. We have traveled through a vast landscape of stories and ideas, exploring the implications of AI, the power of a grassroots community garden, the gravity of jury duty, the joy of a niche hobby, the hard lessons of a failed business, the holistic triumph of running a marathon, the fragility of our national parks, the difficulty of family negotiations, the clarity of a digital detox, and the courage of public speaking. We have armed ourselves with a powerful arsenal of C1 vocabulary, words like burgeoning, redundant, mobilize, bureaucracy, unanimous, exonerate, esoteric, gratifying, volatile, paramount, holistic, resilience, steward, conservation, contentious, impasse, introspection, ephemeral, formidable, and resonate. Remember, the goal is not just to know these words, but to own them, to understand their shades of meaning, and to feel confident using them. The stories we've shared are designed to create a rich context, a mental hook on which you can hang each new piece of vocabulary. True language acquisition happens when words stop being abstract concepts and become connected to human emotion and experience. Keep immersing yourself in English. Listen actively, read widely, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Each step, no matter how small, is progress. Thank you so much for your time and your focus today. It had been a pleasure being your host, Jessica, on this extended episode of English in Advance. I truly hope you found this deep, story-based listening practice valuable for your language learning journey. If you enjoyed our time together, please show your support by subscribing to the channel so you don't miss our next lesson. And to be sure you're always up to date, please hit that bell notification button. It's the best way to ensure you never miss an opportunity to practice and improve. Your support helps this community of advanced learners to grow. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and keep advancing your English. Goodbye for now.